It's funny how life can feel so solid one moment, like a house built brick by brick with care, and then, in an instant, you notice the cracks. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 38, married to Claire for 11 years, and we have a life that, on the surface, looks pretty damn good. We own a home in the suburbs, have 2 kids, Ethan, 9, and Lily, 7, and we've done everything by the book. The house, the kids, the vacations, the date nights. I thought we were happy. I thought she was happy. Claire and I met in college. She was that girl everyone noticed, the one who walked into a room and pulled eyes without even trying. But she picked me. I wasn't the loudest or the flashiest, but I was solid, dependable. And I loved her. I still do. She works in marketing, and I run my own IT consulting business. Our life is comfortable, predictable. Maybe a little too predictable. Lately, though, something's been off. It started small, little things that I brushed aside. Like last month, when I grabbed her phone to check the weather and she practically snatched it out of my hands, saying she'd look it up for me. That wasn't normal. Or how she's been dressing up more for work, even on days she's just working from home. A little more makeup, a little extra effort. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then there were the late nights. She had always been busy, but the past few weeks, she's been coming home later than usual. Work's been insane, she'd say, kissing me on the cheek, throwing a tired smile my way. We've got a big client, lots of late meetings. Okay. Work gets busy. I get it. But last Friday, she was supposed to meet a few co-workers for drinks. Nothing unusual. She texted me around 8:30 saying she'd be home soon. At 10:45, she still wasn't back. I called her. Straight to voicemail. She finally walked in at 11:30, smelling of wine and something else, a scent I couldn't place, but it didn't belong to her usual perfume. Sorry, babe, she said, kicking off her heels. We lost track of time. Who all was there? I asked, casually. She hesitated. Just for a second. Oh, the usual group, she said, waving it off. Sarah, Jen, a few others. But something about the way she said it didn't sit right with me. It was too rehearsed. Too careful. And then, 3 days ago, I saw it. Her car. Parked in a random lot downtown. A place that had no connection to her office, no restaurants nearby, nothing that made sense. I wasn't looking for it. I was just driving to a client meeting when I spotted it. Claire's blue SUV, sitting there in a lot next to a nondescript office building. I slowed down. Looked around. She was nowhere in sight. I checked the clock. 2:15 p.m. She had told me she'd be in meetings all afternoon. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I drove away, but the image of her car sitting there burned in my mind. That night, I casually asked how her day had been. She stretched, yawned, said it had been exhausting. Meetings back to back, she sighed. Didn't even have time for lunch. A lie. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, but inside, something was shifting. That was the moment. The moment I knew. Something was coming. And it wasn't good. More red flags. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. Claire had always been a morning person, but lately, she lingered in bed, scrolling through her phone before even getting up. She used to be the first one in the kitchen, making coffee, getting the kids ready for school. Now, she barely looked up from the screen until it was time to leave. I tested something. One morning, while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone from the nightstand. Locked, of course. I glanced at her notifications, nothing unusual. A few work emails, a text from Sarah about lunch. But one thing stood out. She had changed her passcode. She had used the same one for years, our wedding date. Now, it was different. I put the phone down before she came back, but the weight of that tiny change sat heavy in my chest. Then there was the gym. Claire had always been fit, but she was never the type to obsess over it. A couple of jogs a week, some yoga, that was it. But suddenly, she was going every day. I watched her one morning as she packed her gym bag, carefully tucking in a change of clothes, perfume, makeup. "Since when do you bring makeup to the gym?" I asked. She barely glanced at me. "Oh, we've got mirrors in the locker room, and I don't want to look like a mess when I leave." That didn't sit right with me either. I needed to know more. The turning point. It wasn't until Sunday night that I made up my mind. Claire was in the shower, and I grabbed her laptop from the kitchen counter. It was open but locked. I tried her old password. Wrong. I tried a few variations, but nothing worked. That's when I saw her phone, plugged into the charger. I felt like a criminal as I picked it up, but my gut told me I had to look. And then, it happened. A message popped up on the screen. "Unknown number, can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again?" My hands went cold. My stomach lurched. My wife. The woman I had loved for over a decade. The woman I had built a life with. Something inside me snapped into place. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. I put the phone down carefully, my pulse pounding in my ears. I needed a plan. I needed to know the truth. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. It was real. And I was going to find out everything. The moment I saw that message on Claire's phone, something inside me changed. For days, I had been teetering on the edge of doubt and denial, convincing myself that I was just overthinking things. That maybe Claire really was just working late. That maybe I was just being insecure, paranoid. But this? This was undeniable. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? My hands had gone ice cold when I saw it. I put the phone back down carefully, like it might explode in my hands, and sat back in my chair, trying to process. Claire was still in the shower. I had maybe 10 minutes before she came back out, and I had a decision to make. Do I confront her now? No. That would be too easy for her. She would deny it. She would twist it. She would find a way to gaslight me, to make me feel like the crazy one. I need proof. Something undeniable. Something she can't talk her way out of. Digging for the truth. I knew I had to act fast. First, I grabbed a notepad from the junk drawer and wrote down the unknown number. I didn't recognize it, but I'd figure out who it belonged to later. Then, I opened her laptop again. The password was changed, but I had an idea. Claire wasn't as careful with her work passwords as she was with her phone. Over the years, I'd helped her log into various accounts, and I remembered she had a habit of using slight variations of the same thing. I tried our anniversary date. Nothing. The kids' birthdays. No luck. Then, I tried something that made my stomach turn. Her maiden name and the year 2023. The screen unlocked. Bingo! My heart pounded as I clicked into her emails, scanning for anything unusual. At first, it was just the usual work notifications, spam, newsletters. But then, I saw a folder labeled Archived. I clicked on it. And that's when I found the emails. The emails that changed everything. The first one was from about 2 months ago. "Claire, I don't know if this is a mistake, but I can't stop thinking about you. I feel like I haven't felt alive in years, and when I'm with you, it's like I remember who I used to be." My throat tightened. I scrolled down. "Unknown sender, you don't have to explain. I feel the same way. Let's just enjoy this and see where it takes us." I kept scrolling. There were dozens of them. Some were short and flirty. Others were long, emotional confessions. But one thing was clear, this wasn't just a random fling. This was an affair. And it had been going on for at least 2 months. My hands shook as I kept reading. I didn't want to, but I had to. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. That's when I saw his name. Nathan. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I knew a Nathan. Nathan was Claire's coworker. A younger guy, maybe early 30s. Tall, fit, the kind of guy who walked into a room with that effortless confidence that made people gravitate toward him. And now, he was sleeping with my wife. The realization. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling my world tilt on its axis. Claire had been lying to my face for months. All those late nights. The sudden obsession with the gym. The way she had started guarding her phone like it held nuclear codes. It all made sense now. I closed the laptop and took a deep breath. I couldn't break down. Not yet. I needed more proof. Something concrete. I picked up my phone and took photos of the emails on the screen. Screenshot after screenshot, making sure I had everything. Then, I went back to Claire's phone. I opened her messages. She had deleted everything. Of course she had. But I knew how to retrieve them. I quickly downloaded a recovery app one had used once before when I accidentally erased some work texts. Within minutes, the deleted messages started appearing. And that's when I saw them. Claire, I'm thinking about you right now. I want to feel your hands on me again. Nathan, tomorrow. My place. Same time? Claire, I'll make an excuse to leave early. I can't wait. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up. They weren't even trying to be discreet. They had a routine. A schedule. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was something they were doing regularly. The next move. I heard the water shut off in the bathroom. Claire would be out soon. I locked her phone and put it back on the nightstand like nothing had happened. Then, I took a deep breath and forced myself to think. I had proof now. Enough to destroy her lies. But I wasn't going to confront her yet. I needed to be smart. If I exploded on her right now, she'd just deny it. She'd cry, twist things, maybe even make me feel like I was at fault. No. I needed to catch her in the act. The plan. For the next few days, I played the perfect husband. I acted normal. Maybe even extra normal. I kissed Claire good morning. Asked about her day. Laughed at her stupid jokes. And all the while, I was tracking her. I installed a GPS tracker on her car. Nothing fancy, just a cheap device I picked up online that sent location updates to my phone. I checked her emails daily, watching as she continued to sneak around behind my back. And then, finally, I got what I needed. D-Day. Friday. Claire told me she had a work meeting at 2 p.m. I smiled, nodded, told her to have a great day. Then, as soon as she left, I followed. I stayed far enough behind that she wouldn't notice. She drove downtown, parked in the same random lot I had seen before. I watched as she got out, fixed her hair in the car mirror, and walked toward a nearby apartment building. I clenched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. 10 minutes later, I saw him. Nathan. Walking out of the building, looking around before letting her in. I took a deep breath. I had her. This was it. No more doubts. No more wondering. Claire was cheating on me. And now, it was time to decide what came next. The second Claire disappeared into Nathan's apartment, I sat there gripping the steering wheel, my heart pounding against my ribs. This is it. No more doubts. No more, maybe I'm imagining things. She was in there, with him. The woman I had built a life with, the mother of my children, was actively betraying me, right now, behind closed doors. I should have stormed in, busted down the door, and demanded answers. But I didn't. I sat there. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just angry. I was calculating. Claire had already destroyed everything I thought was real. I wasn't going to give her the chance to spin the story, to turn it back on me, to cry and manipulate her way out. I needed to make sure when I confronted her, there was no way for her to gaslight me. She wouldn't just hear my words. She would see them. Setting the trap. I reached into my glove compartment and pulled out my old digital recorder. It was something I used for client meetings, nothing fancy, just a basic audio device. I hit record. I spoke clearly, slowly, with purpose. Today is Friday. February 16th. Time is now 2:18 p.m. I just watched my wife, Claire Carter, enter the apartment building of Nathan Reynolds, her co-worker. This confirms what I suspected, she is cheating on me. I placed it back in the glove compartment, letting it continue recording. Then, I pulled out my phone. I had already taken photos of Claire walking toward the apartment. Now, I opened the GPS tracking app. Her car was still parked here. I took a screenshot. I sat there for another 30 minutes, stomach in knots, mind racing. How long would she stay? How many times had she done this before? I knew I could look back at the GPS history later, but part of me already knew the answer: too many times. Finally, at 3:07 p.m., the apartment door opened. Claire stepped out, adjusting her hair. Nathan followed, grinning like a satisfied bastard, kissed her on the cheek, and whispered something in her ear. She laughed. She actually laughed. I took a video this time. 30 seconds of pure proof. I watched as Claire walked back to her car, still fixing her appearance in the window reflection. I had everything I needed. Now, it was time for the real show. The confrontation, stage 1. I beat her home. Claire strolled in around 4:30 p.m. like nothing had happened, tossing her bag onto the kitchen counter. "Hey, babe," she said, smiling. "How was your day?" I had to fight the urge to laugh. I had never felt this level of control before. It was like I had been drowning in suspicion for months, and now, finally, I was breathing in crisp, clear air. "You know," I said casually, "just the usual. Work, emails, meetings. What about you?" "Oh, just exhausting," she sighed, stretching her arms. "Meetings all afternoon. I barely had time to eat." I felt nothing. Not sadness. Not heartbreak. Just pure, simmering rage. "Really?" I asked, tilting my head. "Where was your meeting again?" She barely hesitated. "Downtown. Same office we always use." Lie. 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 I stepped forward, close enough that she could feel my presence shift. "You sure about that?" I asked, my voice low. She finally looked up at me, blinking, like she had just noticed something was off. Yeah," she said, forcing a small laugh. "What's with the interrogation, detective?" I let the silence stretch between us. Then, I pulled out my phone. One swipe. The video popped up. Claire's face drained of color before I even hit play. But I did. And we both watched her walking into Nathan's building, Nathan kissing her, the stupid little laugh. She actually stumbled backward, as if the video had physically hit her. "Dan," she whispered. Save it." I could feel my hands trembling, but I wasn't about to let her see that. "How long?" I asked. She shook her head. "It's not." "How long?" Her lips trembled. "Dan, please, can we?" "How long, Claire?" She flinched. "A few months." I nodded. Not because I accepted it. Because I was memorizing her words. She said a few months. The GPS history would tell me exactly how long. The emails would confirm it. She was still lying. The spiral begins. Claire tried to recover. She reached out, her eyes glistening, voice shaky. "I made a mistake, Dan. I swear, it didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I snapped, stepping back. "So, you're just out here throwing our entire marriage away for something that doesn't mean anything?" Tears welled up in her eyes. I wasn't thinking. I laughed. And that's when I saw the first flash of fear in her expression. She knew. She knew this wasn't going to go how she thought. You weren't thinking? I repeated, shaking my head. Claire, you planned this. You set up meetings. You made excuses. You even changed your passwords. This wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. She wiped at her eyes, shaking her head. Dan, please. I love you. I love our family. We can fix this. We can. Fix it? I scoffed. You're not even sorry, Claire. You're just sorry you got caught. The words hit her hard. Her shoulders sagged. She knew I was right. Then, I went for the final blow. You're going to pack a bag, I said, voice calm. You're going to leave. Right now. Her mouth fell open. What? You heard me. I folded my arms. I want you out. Tonight. Her face crumpled. Dan, please. The kids. We'll be fine. She panicked. I can't just, Dan, I don't have anywhere to go. You had somewhere to go this afternoon, I shot back. Call Nathan. I'm sure he has a spare bed. Boom. That was it. Her last line of defense collapsed. She sobbed. Begged. Tried to touch me, to hold my face, to say all the things she thought might keep me from walking away. But I had already walked away. She just didn't know it yet. Claire was still standing there, sobbing, shaking, her hands gripping the kitchen counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. I should have felt something, pain, sorrow, even a sliver of regret, but all I felt was a dull, hollow sense of finality. I had already lost her. No, scratch that. She had lost me. And now, I had a choice to make. Was I going to take the high road? Or was I going to burn her world down the way she had burned mine? The aftermath begins. Claire wiped at her face, her breath coming in sharp, shallow gasps. Dan, please. Let's talk. Just let me explain. I gave her a long, cold stare. Explain what, Claire? That you've been screwing another man for months? That you've been sneaking around behind my back? That you had the audacity to walk through this door and kiss me after coming straight from his bed? Her lip trembled. I was confused. Bullshit. She flinched. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. My words were razor blades, slicing through her pathetic attempts at damage control. You weren't confused, I said. You were careful. You lied. You planned. And now that you're caught, now you want to talk? She reached for my hand. I pulled away. I wasn't done. You didn't feel confused when you put on extra perfume before meeting him. You didn't feel confused when you lied to my face about work meetings. You didn't feel confused when you texted him, deleted the messages, and made sure I wouldn't see them. She sobbed harder. Dan, I swear, Enough. Silence. Then, in a calmer voice, I said, I want you out. Her head snapped up. Dan, no. Please, Out. Tonight. She shook her head desperately. Where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. Nathan's place, I guess. You didn't seem to have a problem getting in there earlier. Don't do this, she whispered, voice breaking. I almost laughed. Do what, Claire? Hold you accountable for your choices? She looked completely shattered. Good. That was exactly how I had felt when I saw that text message. When I followed her to his apartment. When I watched her laugh with him like our marriage meant nothing. Now, she got to feel it too. And I wasn't done yet. The divorce papers. Claire stood there, blinking, waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Instead, I reached into the drawer by the fridge and pulled out a manila envelope. Her eyes flickered with confusion. "What's that?" I tossed it on the counter. "Divorce papers." She actually staggered back like she had been hit. You already?" "Yep. I had started the process days ago, as soon as I confirmed my suspicions. My lawyer was one of the best in the state, and I had made sure everything was airtight." Claire's eyes darted across the room, looking for something, an escape, a way out, a miracle. There was none. "Dan, please." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "Sign the papers." She started shaking. No, we can work through this." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Work through it?" "Claire, you torched our marriage. You chose another man over me. And now that your little game is over, you think I'm going to fight for you?" Tears streamed down her face. "I love you." My stomach clenched, but I didn't let it show. "No, Claire. You loved yourself more." She collapsed into a chair, her body racked with sobs. I let her cry. I was done crying for her. Exposing the truth. I gave Claire an hour to pack a bag. She begged. She pleaded. She tried to say we should wait and talk about it when we're calm. I didn't budge. Then, when she realized she was actually leaving, the panic really set in. "Dan, we can't tell the kids." "Not yet. Please." That made me pause. Not because I was considering it. Because it proved she still thought she had a chance to control the narrative. I shook my head. "Ethan and Lily deserve the truth." "They're too young," she choked out. "You should have thought about that before you destroyed our family." She buried her face in her hands. I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone and opened my text thread with her parents. Claire's head shot up. "Dan, wait." Too late. I hit send. A long message detailing exactly what she had done. The lies, the affair, everything. Her face went pale as her phone immediately started ringing. Next, I texted our close friends. Then, I sent everything, the GPS records, the videos, the screenshots of the messages, to Nathan's wife. "Yeah. He was married too." Claire gasped. "Dan, no. You can't." "I just did." She lunged for my phone. I stepped back. "You don't get to decide who knows the truth, Claire. You lost that right the second you stepped into another man's bed." She collapsed, sobbing into her hands. Revenge or closure? As I stood there, watching Claire break down, I felt something shift inside me. I had planned to go nuclear. To destroy her completely. And in a way, I already had. She was ruined. Her family would disown her. Our friends would turn on her. Nathan's wife was about to unleash hell. I could have done more. I could have shown up at her job and exposed her. I could have blown up Nathan's career. But suddenly, I didn't care anymore. I just wanted her gone. So I stepped back. Took a deep breath. And said, "Get out, Claire. And don't come back." She stared at me, red-eyed and broken. "Dan, please don't hate me." I met her gaze, feeling nothing. "You're not worth the effort." And with that, I turned my back on her. For good. Claire was gone. Her car had pulled out of the driveway 20 minutes ago, her face streaked with tears, her hands gripping the wheel so tightly I thought she might snap it in half. But she left. That was what mattered. The house was quiet now. Eerily so. For the first time in over a decade, I was alone. No footsteps padding through the hall. No sound of Claire humming in the kitchen. No faint smell of her perfume lingering in the air. And despite everything, despite the betrayal, the lies, the sheer humiliation, there was a small, aching part of me that missed her. Not her, exactly. I missed the idea of her. The woman I thought I married. The life I thought we had. But that woman was gone. And maybe she had never really been there at all. Talking to the kids. I knew what had to come next. Ethan and Lily. I hadn't told them yet. I hadn't wanted them to see the screaming, the tears, the anger. They had been at my sister's house for a sleepover, completely oblivious to the fact that when they walked through that door, their world would never be the same again. I picked up my phone and called my sister. "Hey," she answered softly. She already knew something was wrong. "Can you bring them home?" My voice was steady, but it felt like I was talking through gravel. She hesitated. "Dan, are you sure? Maybe give it a... They need to know." A pause. Then, finally, "Okay. We'll be there in 20. They came through the door like they always did, backpacks slung over their shoulders, voices excited, bouncing with leftover energy from a night of junk food and movies. Then they saw me. Saw my face. Saw the way the house felt different. Lily was the first to ask, "Where's Mom?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Sit down, guys. We need to talk." I kept it simple. No gory details. No dragging Claire through the mud. Just the truth. "Mom made some bad choices," I said carefully, kneeling in front of them. She broke our trust. And because of that, she won't be living here anymore." Ethan, ever the quiet one, just stared at the floor, his little fists clenched at his sides. Lily's lip wobbled. "But she's coming back, right?" I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. "No, sweetheart. She's not." The silence stretched between us. Then, Ethan spoke. "She cheated on you, didn't she?" The words hit me like a sledgehammer. I looked up, meeting his 12-year-old gaze, and saw something I hadn't expected. Anger. Real, burning anger. Not sadness. Not confusion. Just pure betrayal. "Yes," I admitted. "She did." Lily started crying. Ethan just nodded. "I knew something was off," he muttered. "She was always on her phone. She was always working late." I clenched my jaw. They noticed. All this time, I thought I was protecting them from the truth, but deep down, they had felt it too. I pulled them both in close. "No matter what happens next, I need you to know that I love you both. That's never going to change." Lily sniffled against my chest. "I hate her." I sighed, running a hand over her back. "No, sweetheart. You don't hate her. You're just hurt." Ethan wasn't so forgiving. "Well, I do." I didn't correct him. Because honestly, I kind of did too. The last conversation. Claire had been blowing up my phone all day. Text after text. Call after call. I ignored her at first, but after the 15th attempt, I finally picked up. "What do you want?" She sounded exhausted. "Dan, please. We need to talk. Face to face. Just once." "Why?" I asked bluntly. "So you can beg? Cry some more? Try to manipulate me into feeling sorry for you?" Her breath hitched. "No. I need to say goodbye. Properly." I almost hung up. Almost. But some part of me needed closure too. "Fine," I muttered. One conversation. Public place. 30 minutes. That's it. "Okay," she whispered. "Thank you." The coffee shop. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, nervously stirring a cup of tea she probably wasn't drinking. When she saw me, her eyes lit up with something that almost looked like hope. I crushed it immediately. "Don't read into this," I said, sitting across from her. "I just want answers." She flinched, but nodded. There was a long, awkward silence before she finally spoke. I messed up, she admitted, her voice hoarse. I betrayed you. I betrayed our family. And I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know. I never stopped loving you. I stared at her, feeling absolutely nothing. You don't destroy the people you love, Claire. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. She wiped at her face, exhaling shakily. It wasn't just about Nathan. It was about me. I was losing myself, Dan. I felt like I wasn't enough. Like I wasn't living. I clenched my fists. So instead of talking to me about it, you threw everything away? She nodded slowly. I leaned back, arms crossed. Was it worth it? She let out a choked sob. No. Good, I said flatly. We sat there for a while, both knowing there was nothing left to say. Eventually, she whispered, "Can I still see the kids?" That was the only part that still hurt. Because no matter what she did to me, she was still their mother. I rubbed a hand over my face. I won't stop you. But you're going to have to earn back their trust. And I'm not going to force them to see you if they don't want to. She nodded, swallowing thickly. I understand. I checked my watch. Time's up, I said. She looked down, tears dripping into her untouched tea. I stood up, ready to walk away for the last time. But before I did, I leaned down, lowering my voice to a whisper. I hope he was worth it, Claire. She let out a soft, broken sob. And with that, I walked out the door, never looking back. I didn't look back when I walked out of that coffee shop. Not once. I kept my head up, my steps steady, my heartbeat calm. The moment the door shut behind me, I felt nothing. No relief. No peace. No anger. Just emptiness. I had won. I had exposed Claire, forced her to face the truth, taken away her control, and left her alone in the wreckage she created. So why did I still feel like the one who lost? The silence of an empty home. When I got home, the house was silent. Too silent. The kids were still at my sister's. I told them they could stay another night if they wanted, give them more time before coming back to the new reality. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me, standing in the dimly lit hallway. This was my home. But it didn't feel like home anymore. Claire's presence was still everywhere, her jacket still hanging by the door, her perfume still lingering in the air, her coffee mug still sitting in the sink. And for the first time since this all started, the weight of it crushed me. I sat down on the couch and buried my face in my hands. I had spent so much energy being angry. Being vengeful. Gathering proof. Planning my next move. Now that it was over, I had nothing left. I was just tired. Facing the future. The next morning, I forced myself out of bed. There was still work to do. I started with the bedroom. Claire's clothes were still in the closet, her books still stacked on the nightstand, her hairbrush still sitting by the mirror. Everywhere I looked, I saw her. That had to change. I grabbed a few trash bags and started purging. I yanked her clothes off their hangers, shoving them into bags. The framed wedding photo on the dresser? Face down in a drawer. The candle she always lit at night? Gone. I stripped the bed, threw the sheets into the wash, and opened every damn window in the house. I needed the stench of her betrayal out of my home. It took hours. By the time I was done, I was sweating, exhausted, and my hands were shaking. But the house felt different. Still empty. But at least now, it felt like mine. The kids come home. When Ethan and Lily came back that afternoon, the change hit them immediately. Ethan walked into the kitchen, his eyes scanning the space. "Where's Mom's stuff?" I exhaled. I packed it up. Lily frowned. "So she's never coming back?" I knelt down so we were eye level. "No, sweetheart. She's not." She bit her lip. "Good. That threw me off. Good? I echoed. She nodded. She hurt you. She hurt us. I don't want her here. I sighed, pulling her into a hug. You don't have to forgive her, I murmured. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But just know that I'll always be here for you, okay? She sniffled and nodded against my shoulder. Ethan, standing by the fridge, spoke without turning around. She texted me, he muttered. My stomach clenched. Yeah? He nodded. She said she's sorry. That she still loves us. That she wants to see us. I hesitated. And how do you feel about that? He was quiet for a long time. Then, finally. I don't know. I understood that. And I wouldn't force him to decide. An unexpected message. That night, after the kids were asleep, I was scrolling mindlessly on my phone when I saw an unknown number pop up in my messages. Nathan's wife. I had sent her everything, the texts, the videos, the GPS logs, but she hadn't responded. Until now. I stared at the screen for a long moment before opening it. Thank you. That was all it said. 2 words. But those 2 words carried an entire storm of meaning. I hovered over the keyboard, wondering if I should reply. Before I could decide, another message came through. Are you okay? I exhaled sharply. Was I okay? No. But I wasn't broken either. I typed back. I will be. And I meant it. A different kind of freedom. The days turned into weeks. Claire officially moved into an apartment across town. The kids visited her once a week, but it was strained. Distant. They weren't ready to forgive her. And honestly? Neither was I. But something strange started happening. I stopped thinking about her. For months, she had consumed my every thought. My every action. Now. She was just a ghost of a past life. I was moving on. And one night, as I sat on the porch, sipping a beer under the stars, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't replaying every moment in my head. I was just free. And for the first time in a long time, that felt good. Final thoughts. People always talk about the pain of betrayal. The rage. The humiliation. The heartbreak. But they don't talk about what comes after. After the storm has passed. After the dust has settled. The quiet. The stillness. The clarity. I thought Claire's betrayal would define me. That it would break me. But it didn't. It just showed me who I really was. And that? That was the real victory.